Hello, everyone. I'm Ava, and today I'll be summarizing a movie called Seeking a Friend for the End of the World. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. A 70-meter-wide asteroid named Matilda is heading toward Earth, prompting all the world's governments to send a spacecraft in an attempt to destroy it. Unfortunately, the mission fails when the spacecraft explodes upon entering the asteroid field, sealing humanity's fate. In 3 weeks, the asteroid will collide with Earth, wiping out all life. Married couple Dodge and Linda hear the news over the car radio, but Dodge remains unfazed. He simply mentions that they missed their highway exit. Unable to tolerate his indifference any longer, Linda leaves him for good. After that, people around the world begin making plans for the end of days, many focusing on fulfilling their bucket lists. Signs begin appearing on the streets, offering various services, everything from naughty meetups and companionship for the final days to paid assassins willing to help those who don't want to wait for the end. However, Dodge has nothing in his life, so he simply continues his dull routine. With just 21 days left, he still goes to the gym, which is nearly empty. He and one other guy joke about wanting to be in good shape when they meet God. On TV, Dodge watches the news, where reporters announce that mobile networks are no longer working and that electricity and water will soon be gone. As he drives to work, the traffic is even more chaotic than usual, with people desperately trying to flee the city for a better place. At the office, he notices that only a handful of colleagues have shown up. Surprisingly, he still receives calls from clients asking if there's insurance coverage for global catastrophes. Overwhelmed by everything, he feels sick and ends up vomiting. He attends meetings where promotions are handed out to everyone since so many employees have stopped showing up. His boss offers them open positions that no one is around to fill, like head of the finance department, but no one in their small group is interested. On his way home, Dodge checks his mailbox, but as always, it's empty. He then notices his neighbor, Penny, rushing out of her apartment after breaking up with her boyfriend, Owen. When Dodge enters his apartment, he finds his cleaning lady, Elsa, who still comes every week as usual. He tries to tell her that she doesn't need to come anymore due to the current situation, but Elsa gets upset, thinking she's being fired. Wanting to avoid any conflict, Dodge takes back his words, and she assures him she'll be back next week. It's clear that Elsa doesn't watch TV and has no idea what's happening. She casually tells Dodge to buy more detergent and says she'll see him next week. Dodge then drinks some cough syrup and watches the news, where he learns that the last airplane has taken off and all airlines have shut down. From now on, all flights are canceled. Before going to bed, he finds a spider in his bathroom and prepares to kill it, but in the end, he decides to spare its life. That night, a spider fucks him while he sleeps. The next morning, Dodge wakes up with multiple bites on his face. Dodge, what happened to your face? He parks in the same spot as usual and checks himself in the mirror, examining the damage. The body of a colleague who committed suicide falls onto his car, leaving him shaken. 14 days until impact. A week passes, and with 14 days left until the end of the world, he goes to his friend's house. His wife, Diane, answers the door and remarks that she's surprised Linda hadn't left him sooner. Warren is there. He likes to drink. He tells Dodge that he'll share one of his 13 Don Ramon cigars with him, adding that they were hard to come by. We also meet their son, Danny, who refuses to drink with his father. Her teenage son insults his parents before leaving, and they respond in kind, no longer caring. Warren isn't all that concerned about the coming end of the world and continues to enjoy himself. Diane insists on setting him up with someone because he shouldn't die alone. When Dodge declines, her husband notes that no one will die alone anyway, since the whole world is dying together. As the party begins, Diane introduces him to Karen, who is dressed in all her elegant clothes, which she rarely wears. She tries to make conversation, but the atmosphere is incredibly awkward, and Dodge doesn't know what to say, feeling uncomfortable. After a while, all the friends gather around the table, and each one shares how they plan to spend the remaining 2 weeks. The guests share their plans for the final days. Some want to visit family, while others want to fulfill their unachieved dreams. Karen says she wants to spend hers with someone special while seductively looking at Dodge. When it's Dodge's turn, he doesn't get a chance to speak because a child distracts him with toys. After dinner, the party heats up and becomes wild. Even the kids are allowed to drink alcohol now. Karen dances and continues flirting with Dodge, who makes an effort to ignore her. While Dodge is getting bored at the party, Roach approaches him. His friend tells him that women no longer have standards and that every man has a chance, no matter how he looks. He tells him he sleeps with a different woman every day and doesn't have to worry about anything anymore. This is very important information for Dodge. Roach suggests that they both go after Karen together, but Dodge declines. Some people also bring heroin, and many decide to try it before they die. Later, fireworks are set off. Dodge can no longer stand the chaos, so he hides in the bathroom. While he's in the bathroom, feeling depressed, Diane comes in and starts to seduce him. Dodge rejects her because she's his friend's wife. But Diane explains that no one cares about that anymore, since the world is ending anyway. Exhausted, Dodge decides to leave the party early. While looking at a picture of his high school love, Olivia, he reflects on the past and starts playing the harmonica, but soon stops when he hears a woman crying on the fire escape. It's the girl who had fought with her boyfriend earlier that day. She immediately hugs him, sobbing uncontrollably. She's crying because she missed the last flight to the United Kingdom and now won't be able to be with her family during the end of the world. She also regrets wasting so much time in life with the wrong people. Dodge invites her inside. He shares some cough syrup with her. In return, Penny offers him some marijuana, but he declines. Penny had broken up with her boyfriend earlier that day, so she's a bit shaken. She explains that smoking is the only thing that helps her fall asleep and wake up, as she suffers from severe hypersomnia, which means she could sleep through anything, even the apocalypse. Dodge tells her about Olivia, the girl from high school who was the first to leave him. Then, the two of them watch TV together and fall asleep on the couch. The next day, Penny continues to sleep despite how loudly the TV is on. Dodge even pinches her nose, but she doesn't react. Instead, she picks up a harmonica and starts playing, which finally wakes her up. Penny stretches and announces that she's finally ready to go back to her apartment. Together, they walk down the stairs, and Penny carries a large pile of letters and bills. She explains to him that the mailman has been mistakenly leaving his mail in her mailbox for years. She has kept it all this time, but never saw him pass by to hand it over. She also tells him that she's often seen his roommate Linda with a boyfriend, with whom she seemed happy. Dodge is shocked when he realizes that Linda has been cheating on him. He returns to the apartment very upset and can't believe that his girlfriend has been unfaithful to him for such a long time. Feeling like a complete idiot, he destroys all of her things. Later, he buys a bottle of blue liquid and some alcohol, then heads to the park, where he sees two teenagers kissing. Suddenly, he yells to scare them, then starts drinking until he passes out. However, his attempt at self-destruction fails. He wakes up completely healthy the next morning and discovers an abandoned dog tied to him with a note that says, "Sorry." Just 12 days left. Dodge takes the dog and heads home. As he walks through the city, he notices that people have become violent. There are fights, fires, and robberies everywhere, with no police to stop it. He heats up some food for the dog in the microwave. While the dog watches TV, Dodge starts going through old mail and is shocked when he finds a letter from Olivia, sent a few months ago. In the letter, she writes that she has never stopped thinking about him and wanted to check on how he was doing. Her last line reads, "You are the love of my life." Suddenly, a brick shatters his window, and the alarm in the building goes off. The riots have reached his neighborhood. There's no more time to think. Violent people are already in the hallway, so Dodge grabs the dog, the harmonica, and Olivia's letter before fleeing through the fire escape. He heads to Penny's apartment, where he's met by her ex-boyfriend Owen, who immediately assumes Penny is cheating on him with Dodge. In a fit of rage, he punches the wall and breaks his arm. Dodge ignores him and wakes up Penny, but Owen keeps escalating the argument. In a panic, Dodge tells them they need to hurry and get out. When Dodge finally manages to say that the riots have reached the building, Penny starts frantically collecting her favorite records, and Dodge continues to accuse her of being involved with him, thinking she's sleeping with Dodge. They escape through the window, and outside, we see even more chaos unfolding. Penny offers to drive, but she's forgotten where she parked the car. As they search for the car, Penny and her boyfriend Owen argue about their relationship. At that moment, some people start shooting, and Owen uses Penny as a shield to protect himself. When they finally find the car, Penny struggles to get out of the parking spot because she's not good at parallel parking.
Get out and help!
Owen gets out to help her, but simultaneously insults her, which shows why they broke up. While Penny tries to figure things out with Owen's instructions, Dodge tells her that he knows a guy with a private plane who can get her to her parents, as long as she gets him out of the city. Motivated by the offer, Penny finally manages to get the car out and speeds off, leaving Owen behind. Penny and Dodge leave. Unfortunately, the next day they run out of fuel because Penny didn't fill up the tank. As they walk down the road, Penny tries to stay optimistic, but Dodge finally snaps. They start arguing after Dodge tells her to forget about the plane and begins blaming her for not giving him Olivia's letter on time. Now, he has no idea where she is. She should have given him the letter when it arrived 3 months ago. Feeling guilty, Penny promises to help him find his lost love. She starts hitchhiking, and a man named Glenn agrees to give them a ride in his yellow van. In the car, Penny tells Dodge that she wants to see her parents, while he is searching for his old high school love. During the ride, Penny asks him to share the story of his life, and he starts with his father's childhood. Dodge finds it annoying, while the driver shares his own life story. We learn that Glenn was told by his doctor that he had 6 months to live, but when he got home and turned on the TV, he found out that everyone had only 3 weeks left. Glenn admits that he lost the love of his life years ago and had considered suicide, but it went against his religious beliefs. His tone becomes suspicious, and Dodge notices digging equipment in the back of the van. When Glenn pulls over and says he needs to relieve himself, he invites Dodge to join him. Growing even more suspicious, Dodge refuses. As soon as Glenn disappears from sight, Dodge tells Penny that he thinks they're traveling with a psychopath. Penny doesn't take him seriously and goes for a walk with the dog. Soon, Glenn returns and tells Dodge to drop the act, claiming that his facial expression is proof that he's a killer. The strange man says he knew at the moment he saw them. He takes off his hat and tells Dodge to kill him. After a bit of talk about ordering a murder, he suddenly starts laughing. Dodge denies everything, and Glenn apologizes for the misunderstanding, revealing that he had hired a hitman to take him out. Before he can finish his sentence, a bullet pierces the windshield, killing him instantly. His hired assassin is now speeding away in a car. Penny returns, and they decide to bury him. As they dig the grave, they try to make sense of Glenn's philosophy. After burying Glenn's body using his own equipment, they realize they also buried the keys to his van. So, they dig him up again to retrieve them. Dodge and Penny then drive off in his van. As they continue their journey, they talk about everything that's happening. Dodge admits that he always knew he would die young, while Penny says she thought she'd reached the peak of her life in her 40s. They also talk about Olivia and how she and Dodge parted ways. They were young and unsure of what they wanted in life. Soon, they arrive at a roadside diner called Frenzy's and decide to stop for a drink. Here, everyone is welcome. A waiter greets them with a warm hug and admits that all the staff have been smoking marijuana, which has led them to experiment with all kinds of crazy recipes. Last week, there was a guy with a wolf. Penny and Dodge decide to stick with classic dishes and even get some food for the dog. A friendly blonde waitress serves them, and they order 2 mudslides. Penny, catching the scent of weed in the air, goes to get some. Before long, they're having a great time, laughing and eating to their heart's content. Penny asks Dodge what he did for work. When he says he sold insurance policies, she laughs and asks him to elaborate. Dodge explains that he's the kind of person who feels more comfortable in security. Soon, the blonde waitress returns with a cake, and the whole bar starts singing happy birthday to Dodge because Penny told them it was his birthday. The bar erupts into chaos, and they eventually make their way back to their yellow van. The mood heats up, and they decide to play a little game of hide-and-seek, meaning they hook up. After they finish, Penny casually mentions that she's 28 years old. Dodge starts feeling guilty about the age difference, as if he took advantage of her. But Penny reminds him that she's an adult who made her own decision. Suddenly, they hear sirens and are shocked to see a police officer trying to pull them over. Penny wants to keep driving, arguing that the law doesn't matter anymore. Dodge insists they should stop, even though Penny finds it pointless. After all, the world is ending soon anyway. Dodge grabs Penny's cigarette and hides it in his mouth, only to accidentally take a puff and start coughing. The cop approaches and tells them that Penny was speeding by 25 miles per hour. He also points out that their registration expired a month ago. Penny argues that it's pointless since the world is ending anyway. She asks the cop to cut them some slack, but the jerk refuses and arrests them instead. In jail, they meet a man who was arrested for disturbing the peace with a sign that says, "The end is here." Penny breaks down, feeling like she's failing to keep her promise. Dodge reaches through the bars to hug her and explains that she didn't ruin his life. He did that himself a long time ago. It would have been way more interesting if Penny had just driven faster and tried to outrun the police. At least that would have made things more exciting. As the cigarette begins to take effect, Penny asks Dodge about his parents. He replies that his mother passed away and his father left a long time ago. He also mentions that his wife left him. He explains that he married because he was afraid of dying alone. Penny now understands that the woman she always saw with another guy wasn't his roommate, but his wife. Dodge says he hasn't seen his father in 25 years. Olivia wanted to marry him, but he was unsure, so she married someone else. In the letter, she wrote that she's now divorced and has a 6-year-old son. The next morning, a new police officer arrives to take over the shift. He is much more reasonable than the previous one and immediately releases everyone. Unfortunately, he can't return their truck since it has been impounded, but he offers them a ride. Penny remembers that her ex-boyfriend lives nearby, so the officer drives them to his place. Dodge instantly becomes jealous when he meets Beck, a former soldier with an incredible physique, doing pull-ups and owning a shelter full of other soldiers. It's clear that he is still in love with Penny. He leads them into a shelter, which is stocked with various supplies. They have to leave the dog in another room because Speck's mom was about to vacuum the shelter. Speck has enough provisions to last for the next 6 months, and he also has a satellite phone that allows Penny to hear her parents. Penny breaks down in tears when she finally hears the voices of her parents and siblings. She even hears her niece and becomes even more emotional when she learns her name. Speck and his team clearly believe that a new civilization will begin after the apocalypse. Speck tells Dodge that only Penny can stay in the shelter, but not him. After that, Penny asks Speck to lend her a car, refusing to stay in the shelter. Speck agrees, but tells her to return the car once she's fulfilled her obligation to Dodge. "I told you the guy was crazy. The end of the world is coming in a few days, my friend." As they drive, they talk about the things they'll miss, like sandwiches and duck ponds in the summer, and the things they won't, like going to the dentist. The lesson of this movie is clear. We should definitely appreciate this world more. They finally arrive at Olivia's house. Dodge is ready to give up easily, but then Penny steps out of the car and picks the lock. When they enter, Penny is surprised to see the same wallpaper as in her own home. They also find plenty of food, so they decide to spend the night there. Penny reminisces about how, as a kid, she used to break into houses with her brothers to eat ice cream and watch TV. Dodge finds a record player, and they unwind with some music. Later, Dodge wakes up next to the dog, while Penny listens to her old records as she cooks. As they enjoy their meal, they joke about the gray hairs in their dog's beard. Penny mentions that her dad was an excellent cook. She also says she has never seen anyone as in love as her parents were. She describes herself as the result of 2 romantics who ended up together. She fell in love with vinyl records because of her dad. "If you own records, you have to take care of them," she says. Penny then tells Dodge all the things she plans to do when she gets home, listening to her mom play the piano, sitting in her dad's garden, and playing with her nieces and nephews. The whole time, Dodge watches her with admiration. As they continue talking, Penny goes into the kitchen and finds a letter. She hands it to Dodge. There's a return address on it, and it's close by. The plan is to leave at dawn. Dodge can't sleep. Meanwhile, Penny flips through his old high school photos. Back then, Olivia and Dodge were the most beautiful couple in school. His name is even carved into Olivia's bed. At dawn, they set off again and soon arrive. Penny and the dog stay in the car while Dodge goes to the door. Penny is clearly falling in love with Dodge. Dodge soon returns to the car and just starts driving. Penny is surprised, and Dodge tells her that he wrote her a letter. Penny doesn't understand why he doesn't want to see her, but Dodge tells her he doesn't want to talk about it. An argument follows, during which Dodge almost crashes into a line of people. They get out of the car and follow the crowd to a nearby beach, where people are being baptized. They find the scene fitting and charming. Dodge takes Penny's hand, and then they share a kiss. Dodge teaches her how to play the harmonica. While he goes after the dog, Penny discovers that the harmonica belonged to his father. They spend the rest of their time enjoying themselves with other people on the beach, having fun. Soon, they continue their journey. At one point, Dodge pulls over next to a beautiful house in the countryside. Penny doesn't know where they have arrived. They have arrived at Dodge's father, Frank's house. Frank is surprisingly happy to see Dodge. Penny goes upstairs to the bathroom while Frank stays with Dodge to talk. Dodge doesn't want to discuss the past or certain actions. He came to Frank to ask for help. Frank regrets everything. He says he thought he would never see Dodge again in his life. He knows he lost the right to be in his son's life when he left 25 years ago. He is truly sorry, but Dodge tells him it's not too late to be there for him because the end is near. They all enjoy their time together, cooking, drinking, eating, and savoring the moment. After dinner, Dodge and his father go outside to play the harmonica together while Penny watches them happily. During the night, while Penny sleeps, Dodge carries her outside to a small airplane. We learn that his father owns the plane and is the only person who can take Penny to her parents. As Dodge gently strokes her hair, beautiful and emotional music plays in the background. Before closing the airplane door, he tells her that she is the love of his life. Then, he signals his father to take off for the UK. After the plane departs, Dodge decides to drive home. At the door, Dodge finds a note from Karen. Inside, he sees Elsa cleaning his room. Finally, he snaps and tells her that she should spend her last days with her family. Elsa is hurt because she considers him a friend. Dodge immediately regrets his words and tells her to come back next week, though they will likely see each other in the next world. A few moments later, Dodge watches the final TV broadcast, where the news anchor announces that previous calculations were wrong and that the asteroid will arrive in 16 hours. The anchor wishes everyone the best before ending the broadcast. The signal is finally cut. Dodge feels hopeless because he has no one to die with. But he still has the dog, man's best friend. He goes to Penny's house, looking through her records, remembering everything she told him about them. As the music plays, he reflects on his life. With beautiful music filling the room, he lies on the floor, waiting for the end of the world. However, at one point the power just goes out. This is a really fucked up situation. There is no music anymore. Dodge lights a candle, and as the dog barks, he walks into the hallway and finds Penny. They embrace. She admits that she woke up during the flight and asked Frank to turn back. After sharing a hug, they lie down together in bed. They talk for a while longer. Dodge asks about her parents, and Penny says they are romantics and would understand. During their conversation, we learn that besides her two brothers, Penny also had a sister, Patricia, who died at birth. She still thinks about her. As explosions outside signal what's coming, Penny and Dodge confess their love for each other, telling one another how much they care.
I'm really glad I got to know you.
The asteroid strikes Earth, bringing everything to an end. And so, the world comes to an end. That would be it for this movie. Leave your thoughts in the comments, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. We'll catch you in the next videos. Take care and appreciate life more.